TeaTime Chinese Episode 42, The Life of Guan Yu. Hello friends and welcome back to TeaTime Chinese. It is spring now. There is a Chinese saying that goes, 一年之计在于春. Have you heard of this saying? 一年之计在于春 means that spring is the most important time of the year. Why is spring the most important time of the year? There are two reasons. The first is that spring is the time for farmers to go to work. Every spring, we can see farmers working in the fields. The second reason is that spring is the best time for students to study. Why is spring the best time to study instead of summer, fall, or winter? Because summer is too hot, winter is too cold, there are too many bugs in fall. Only in spring, when it is neither too hot nor too cold, and when the weather is fine, can we study more efficiently. So spring is the time for farmers to go to work and the time for students to study. That's why the Chinese say, 一年之计在于春. Have you understood it? What shall we talk about today? Recently, some listeners told me that they want me to make more podcasts about Chinese history. I think that's a really good idea. I think Chinese history is so interesting. In our previous episodes, we have covered a lot of historical topics. In episode 11, we have told the story of Mulan. In episode 18, we have told the story of Bo Ya and Zhong Ziqi. In episode 26 and 27, we have talked about the life of Confucius. And in episode 30, we have told about the story of Zhou Chu. And what's more, in episode 37, we have told the story of the peach blossom spring. If you love history, don't forget to check out these previous episodes. Since our audience loves history so much, today I would like to introduce another Chinese historical figure. There is nobody in China who doesn't know him. There is nobody in China who doesn't love him. His name is Guan Yu. If you like Chinese history, you might have heard of the Three Kingdoms period. At that time, China was divided into 3 states, or 3 little countries. Each of these 3 states wanted to defeat the other 2. Also, many well-known heroes appeared during this time. Guan Yu was one of them. Today, we will wind back the clock to 2,000 years ago in China and learn about Guan Yu's life. Are you ready? If we are to introduce Guan Yu, we must first learn about the Three Kingdoms period. And if we want to learn about the Three Kingdoms period, we must first know about the Han Dynasty. The Han Dynasty was the dynasty that preceded the Three Kingdoms period. When did the Han Dynasty begin and end? The Han Dynasty began in 202 BC and ended in 220 AD. During that time, the Roman Empire was probably the most developed country in the West, and China, under the Han Dynasty, was the most developed country in the East. But later, because many people in the government were corrupted, the Han Dynasty became more and more incompetent. At this time, many people came out to protest. They wanted to overthrow the government. In the meantime, many people also came out to protect the government. Guan Yu was born in the year 160 AD. He was born in Shanxi province in today's China. One day when he was 24 years old, he met a man named Liu Bei, who was coming to his city to recruit soldiers to protect the Han government. Seeing that Liu Bei really wanted to protect the Han Dynasty, Guan Yu joined his army. Liu Bei was older than Guan Yu, so Guan Yu called Liu Bei his older brother, and Liu Bei called Guan Yu his younger brother.
大哥，二弟，云长。
Guan Yu was a strong fighter and was of great help to Liu Bei. Although Guan Yu was very strong, Liu Bei's army was still relatively weak at that time. Once Liu Bei's army fought the army of another man named Cao Cao and got defeated. Liu Bei managed to flee, but Guan Yu was captured by Cao Cao, the enemy. Guan Yu was a good warrior, so Cao Cao wanted Guan Yu to join his army instead. He gave Guan Yu a lot of money and gave him the best horse. But Guan Yu still had no intention to join Cao's army. He said to Cao, "Although you have been very nice to me, Liu Bei is my brother. I will go back to Liu Bei and help him." Although Cao could have killed Guan Yu at that time, he appreciated Guan Yu's loyalty and later allowed him to return to Liu Bei. Guan Yu gave back all the money to Cao Cao and rode back to Liu Bei's army on the horse that Cao Cao had given him. Guan Yu returned to help Liu Bei, whose army grew stronger and stronger and later defeated Cao Cao's army in multiple occasions. Once, Guan Yu was shot in the arm by a dujian during a battle. Dujian is an arrow with poison on it. His arm hurt every time when it was rainy. A doctor came to look at Guan Yu's arm and said, "Sir, this is a poison arrow. I must operate a surgery on you." Guan Yu said, "Just go ahead and operate the surgery." That day, Guan Yu was having a meal and was drinking wine with other soldiers. During the operation, Guan Yu's arm bled a lot, but he still drank and ate with others as if nothing had happened. After the operation, Guan Yu was very happy. He thanked the doctor and even invited him to the meal. After this, people all said that Guan Yu was the most courageous man in the world. Guan Yu knew how to fight wars, he was a brave man, and he also liked reading books. Do you know whose books he liked reading the most? He loved reading Confucius the most. Confucius wrote a book called The Spring and Autumn, or 春秋 as we say in Chinese. It was Guan Yu's favorite book to read. In the evenings, Guan Yu would sit on his bed and read The Spring and Autumn. People at that time said that Guan Yu was 文武双全. 文武双全 is an idiom used to describe a man who can both read and fight. Guan Yu had plenty of strengths, but he also had one weakness. That was his excessive pride. He thought that he was the best in the world and didn't like the idea that someone could be better than him. By the way, Guan Yu had a big black beard. Guan Yu also thought that his beard was prettier than others. Every time when someone admired his beautiful beard, he would become very happy. Liu Bei and every man in the army knew that Guan Yu was proud, so they often complimented him and dared not speak evil of him. However, it was just because of this pride that later he got defeated. When we say 三国, 三国, it means there are 3 kingdoms. Liu Bei's kingdom was later called Shu. The state of Cao Cao, as we mentioned before, was later called Wei. There was another state belonging to a man named Sun Quan, whose kingdom is called Wu. Shu is in the south, Wei in the north, and Wu in the east. Once, Wei and Wu collaborated to fight Shu. Liu Bei sent Guan Yu to fight. Wu knew that Guan Yu was proud, so they sent one of their youngest generals to lead the army. At that time, Guan Yu was 60 years old. He was very happy to know that the general from the other side was a young man in his 20s. He thought he could defeat Wu without any effort, so he did not prepare seriously for the upcoming war. However, that was exactly what Wu would like to see. They wanted Guan Yu to be proud and not seriously prepare for the war. At the meantime, there were also some people in Guan Yu's own army who didn't like him. The reason, again, was that Guan Yu was too proud. Two men secretly went to the Wu and told them Guan Yu's plan for the war. Now, Wu knew everything about Guan Yu's plan, and they defeated him easily. At the end, Guan Yu was held captive by Wu. Guan Yu came to see Sun Quan, the ruler of Wu. Sun Quan had always heard of Guan Yu's bravery and loyalty and respected him very much. He said to Guan Yu, "I would like to let you marry my daughter, if you can help Wu." Hearing this, Guan Yu laughed and said, "It is impossible for me to help you." Sun Quan still wanted to gain Guan Yu's loyalty, but at this moment, someone said to Sun Quan, "Don't you remember the time when Guan Yu was at Cao Cao's place? Even though Cao Cao had given him a fortune, Guan Yu still left. Guan Yu didn't help Wei, and nor will he help you." Hearing this, Sun Quan felt that it was a pity, but he had no choice but to kill Guan Yu.
带下去，斩了吧！
That year was 220 AD, and Guan Yu was 60 years old. The story isn't over yet. After killing Guan Yu, Sun Quan knew that Shu would be angry, so he quickly sent Guan Yu's head to Cao Cao, the ruler of Wei. Cao Cao was happy to see that Guan Yu was dead, but he also was afraid that Shu might attack Wei for keeping Guan Yu's head, so he buried Guan Yu's head with respect. Later, Cao Cao often thought of Guan Yu and said that he could see Guan Yu's face at night. Later, he fell ill. 1 month after Guan Yu's death, Cao Cao also died of illness. When Liu Bei heard that Guan Yu was dead, he was heartbroken. He immediately assembled all his army to attack Wu, and after that, a lot of other things happened. That's all for today's introduction of Guan Yu. There is so much more that we can talk about, but because I know that not all of our audience already know the history of the three kingdoms, today I only did a very brief introduction of Guan Yu's life. Guan Yu was a hero. He fought, he read, and he was loyal. That's why people from later generations all respected him. In later dynasties, the government encouraged people to learn from Guan Yu. When the country was at war, the government would encourage everyone to be brave and courageous like Guan Yu. In times of peace, the government would encourage people to read books like Guan Yu. Today, we can also find Guan Yu in some TV dramas and cartoons. If you want to know more about Guan Yu and about the Three Kingdoms period, I would suggest you to watch those TV series and cartoons of the Three Kingdoms period. If there's something that you didn't understand in today's episode, you can check out teatimechinese.com. If you want to download a PDF of the transcript and the English translation, and also a vocabulary list, you can go to our Patreon. If you have friends who love Chinese history, don't forget to share with them TeaTime Chinese podcast. So that's all for today's episode. Thank you all for listening and supporting. I'm Nathan. I'll be seeing you next time. This is a TeaTime Chinese production. For more information, please visit teatimechinese.com.